Hello everyone! Welcome to Lesson 27, Grammar Explanation. Make sure to watch the Lesson 27 vocabulary video so that you will understand the words that we will use for today's lesson. So, let's get started. Rhea さんは漢字が書けますか？
いいえ、書けません。ひらがなは書けますが、漢字は書けません。
そうですか。
はい、ひらがなしか書けません。
So for today's lesson, we will learn the potential verbs. Grammar point number 1. Let's learn how to conjugate the verbs to their potential form. So basically, potential verbs in English means you can do this verb or you can do this action, or a certain action is possible. So first, let's learn how to conjugate the verbs to their potential form. Let's start from the group 1 verbs. So once again, group 1 verbs ends in E sound characters when the mas is removed. So for example of group 1 verbs, the kakimasu. So kakimasu. Now to form the potential form of verbs, from E sound characters, change them to E sound characters. So from E to E sound characters. Just like the verb kakimasu, the kaki changed to ke, kake plus mas, kakemas for the polite form. And for the plain form, from kakemas, kakeru. And also take note guys, when the verbs are in potential form, they are conjugated just like the group 2 verbs. Or in other words, they become group 2 verbs. So if you conjugate them to te form, to ta form of verbs, or the nai form of verbs, we will follow the rule for the group 2 verbs. So this verb kakimas becomes kake. So group 2 verbs are e sounds, kake, kakemas, and the plain form is kakeru. Next verb kaimas, from I to E, kaemas, kaemas, the plain form is kairu. For the group 2 verbs, just remove the mas and add rareru. Okay, for example, the verb tabemas. The verb tabemas is a group 2 verb. Just remove mas and replace it with raremas or rareru. For the polite form, taberaremas, and for the plain form, taberareru. And for the group 3 verbs, let's start from the group 3 verb kimas. Kimas, to come. So from kimas, it will become korare. Korare. For the polite form, koraremas. For the plain form, korareru. Okay? So from ki, it will become ko. Korareru. Koraremas and korareru. And for the noun shimas, so the shimas will become dekimas. Okay? From shimas to dekimas. And once again, dekimas is a group 2 verb. So for the plain form, remove mas and add ru, dekiru. So note that wakarimas already includes the meaning of possibility. So possible, or a state that you can understand. So wakarimas means to understand or can understand. So once again, potential verbs means can do verbs, and wakarimas already means can understand. So you cannot conjugate the verb wakarimas to a potential form because it's already a verb that means a possibility. It does not take the form wakaremas. Grammar point number 2. Sentences in which potential verbs are used. So now let's learn how to use the potential form of verbs. Number 1, potential verbs indicate states. Okay, that's the first function of the potential verbs. Indicate states, not actions. Okay, someone's state, not someone's actions. Although the object of a transitive verb is indicated by the particle o, if you use the potential form of verbs, you will replace the particle o with the particle ga. So for example number 1, Watashi wa nihongo o hanashimasu. Watashi wa nihongo o hanashimasu. So this is action. Okay? Someone's action. Watashi wa I nihongo o hanashimasu. I speak Japanese. Now, from hanashimasu, that's a transitive verb, we will conjugate the verb hanashimasu to the potential form. So, from hanashi to hanase. So, this is a group 1 verb. So, from E sound to S sound. Hanashi, hanase, hanasemasu. So, it will become watashi wa nihongo ga hanasemasu. Watashi wa nihongo ga hanasemasu. From the particle o, nihongo o, now nihongo ga hanasemasu. So always remember that when the verb is a potential verb, the particle o becomes ga. So noun ga potential verb. Can do verb. You can do this noun. Now the particle o is replaced with the particle ga. But other than that, other particles remain the same. So for example, number 3, hitori de byoin e ikemasu ka? Hitori de byoin e ikemasu ka? So from the verb ikimasu, to go. Now it becomes a potential verb, ikemasu, can go. Hitori de alone byoin e ikemasu ka? Can you go alone to the hospital? Or can you go to the hospital on your own? So the particle e remains the same. Only the particle o becomes particle ga. So example number 4, Tanaka-san ni aimasen deshita. Tanaka-san ni aimasen deshita. From the verb aimasu means to meet. And it will become potential verb aemasu, able to meet or can meet. And it becomes a negative verb, aimasen, was not able to meet. Aimasen deshita. So because it's in the past. Aimasen deshita. So I was not able to meet Mr. Tanaka. So Tanaka-san and the verb aimasu, the particle i. The particle is particle ni. Next, a potential verb can be used to state someone's ability to do something. So as an example number 5, and to indicate that an action is possible or in a certain situation, just like in example number 6. So let's start from example number 5. Bansang wa kanji ga yomemasu. Bansang wa kanji ga yomemasu. So this is stating someone's ability. Mr. Bansang wa kanji ga yomemasu. From the verb yomimasu, yomimasu. Yomimasu means to read. Now, the potential form of the yomimasu is yomemasu. Can read or able to read. So, Mr. Bansang wa kanji ga yomemasu. Mr. Van can read kanji. So, stating someone's ability. So, ability of Mr. Van. That Mr. Van can do this. Mr. Van can read kanji. Example number 6. Kono ginko de doro ga kaeraremasu. Kono ginko de doro ga kaeraremasu. So, particle de, kono ginko de. Doru means dollar, doru. Ga kaeraremasu. From the verb kaemasu. Kaemasu means to change. So, doru o kaemasu, to change dollars. Doru ga kaeraremasu. This is indicating that an action is possible. So, you can change dollars here, or changing dollars in this place or in this bank is possible. Grammar point number 3. Miemasu and kikoemasu. So, miemasu and kikoemasu are not volitional. They denote something indicated by the particle ga. So, they are not volitional. So, it means that this verb or these verbs are not the speaker's intention, or this will happen naturally. So coming into sight, or a sound naturally reaching one's ears, independent of one's will. So just like example number 7, Shinkansen kara Fujisan ga miemasu. Shinkansen kara Fujisan ga miemasu. So from the Shinkansen, from the bullet train, the Fujisan or the Mount Fuji can be seen or is visible. As I mentioned earlier, independent of one's will. So this is not volitional. This is not the speaker's intention to see the Mount Fuji, but the Mount Fuji itself is visible from the Shinkansen. Miemasu. So remember the verb miemasu and kikoemasu. So example number 8 for the verb kikoemasu. Radio no oto ga kikoemasu. Radio no oto ga kikoemasu. So for example, you are sitting and suddenly the sound of a radio can be heard, or this is sound naturally reaching one's ears. Okay, the sound of a radio can be heard. Now, miemasu and kikoemasu cannot be used to talk about a person deliberately paying attention to something. In that case, a potential verb is used. So we cannot use the verb miemasu and kikoemasu for a person or talking about a person deliberately paying attention or his own intention to do something. So just like the example number 9, Shinjuku de ima Kurosawa no eiga ga miraremasu. Shinjuku de ima Kurosawa no eiga ga miraremasu. So Shinjuku de, at the Shinjuku, ima, now, Kurosawa no eiga, the Kurosawa film, ga miraremasu, from the verb mimasu, to watch, to look, or to see. Now miraremasu, I can see, or I can view, I can watch at the Shinjuku. So deliberately paying attention. It means the person will go to Shinjuku, and when he's in Shinjuku, he can see or watch the Kurosawa film. Example number 10, Denwa de tenki yohou ga kikemasu. Denwa de tenki yohou ga kikemasu. So denwa de, using a telephone. Tenki yohou. Tenki yohou means weather forecast. Tenki yohou ga kikemasu. From the verb kikimasu means to listen or to hear, and the other meaning of kikimasu is to ask. So you can ask the weather forecast, or you can listen to the weather forecast using a telephone. So now the person is deliberately paying attention to something. So the person will use the telephone and listen or ask about the weather forecast. So I can do this, I can listen or I can ask using the telephone. So we will use a potential verb instead of using the miemasu and the kikoemasu verbs. So remember the difference between the verb kikoemasu and miemasu and the verb miraremasu and kikemasu. Grammar point number 4, dekimasu. So the verb dekimasu means can do and able to do. But in this lesson, the sense of the verb dekimasu means come into being, or be completed, or be finished, be made. So noun ga dekimasu, the noun is being completed or finished or come into being. So for example number 11, Eki no mae ni ookii supa ga dekimashita. Eki no mae ni ookii supa ga dekimashita. So this will use the particle ni for the place. Place particle ni. So eki no mae means in front of the station. Particle ni, because it will become the place of existence for the supermarket. Supa. Ookii supa, a big supermarket. Particle ga dekimashita. So noun ga dekimasu. Uki Supa, a big supermarket, particle ga dekimashita. A big supermarket was built or was made in front of the station. Eiki no mae ni. Another example, Tokei no shuri wa itsu dekimasu ka? Tokei no shuri wa itsu dekimasu ka? So once again, the meaning of dekimasu in this lesson is finish, complete. So Tokei no shuri. Tokei means watch. No shuri. Shuri is repair. Wa, particle wa. Itsu, when. Dekimasu ka? When can you finish the repair of the watch? So Tokei no shuri wa itsu dekimasu ka? Now let's go back to our grammar point number 1. For the group 3 verbs, the potential form of group 3 verbs for the verb kimasu is koraremasu or korareru. Now the noun shimasu, because group 3 verbs are noun shimasu. So for example, unten shimasu, to drive. So the potential form of shimasu is dekimasu. Now the verb dekimasu, just like I explained earlier, uses the particle ga, noun ga dekimasu. So from unten shimasu or unten o shimasu, it will become unten ga dekimasu. Unten is a noun, particle ga dekimasu. So can do, dekimasu means can do. Unten is driving, so can drive. Grammar point number 5, shika. Shika is appended to nouns. So noun shika. Quantifiers. So quantifiers are, in other words, counters for things or time. Shika is always used with a negative. So shika, noun shika, and a negative verb. A sentence that contains it negates everything except the word to which it is attached. When used with a noun to which a particle is attached, it is appended to the particle. So it means that you will add the word shika to the particle of the noun. So noun, then the particle, and shika. Unless this is ga or o. So when the particle of this noun is ga or particle o, you will replace the particle ga or the particle o with shika. So other than that, other particles, just add shika. So for this example, romaji shika kakemasen. Romaji shika kakemasen. Shika means only. And another term is dake. Romaji dake kakemasu. The difference between the two, once again, shika uses a negative verb, and dake can use a negative verb or a positive verb. So let's start from example number 13. So romaji and the verb kakimasu. Romaji o kakimasu. To write romaji. Romaji o kakimasu. So you will replace the particle o with shika. Romaji shika. And the verb kakimasu becomes kakemasen. So it means I cannot write. So a negative potential verb. From kakemasu, I can write. Kakemasen, I cannot write. So this means I cannot write Japanese characters, or I cannot write except romaji. Okay, romaji shika kakemasen. I can only write romaji and nothing else. Example number 14, romaji dake kakemasu. So romaji dake kakemasu. Romaji only. Romaji only kakemasu. I can write romaji only. You can write other characters like katakana or hiragana, or maybe you're not good with hiragana or katakana, so you can only write romaji. But when you say romaji shika kakemasen, only romaji and nothing else. You can only write just romaji. Grammar point number 6, noun wa, contrast. So remember guys, this very simple pattern, the wa ga wa. So we will call this pattern a wa ga wa pattern. So in addition to introducing a topic, wa can also indicate a contrast. So this example number 15, wine wa nomimasu ga beer wa nomimasen. So basically a positive verb or a positive sentence, then a negative sentence, or vice versa. A negative sentence and a positive sentence. So wine wa nomimasu ga beer wa nomimasen. So remember the wa ga wa pattern. Wine wa nomimasu. I will drink wine. Or I drink wine. Ga means but. Wine wa nomimasu ga. I drink wine, but beer wa nomimasen. So the first verb is nomimasu and the second verb is nomimasen. A positive and a negative verb. Wine wa nomimasu ga beer wa nomimasen. So this sentence or this sentence pattern presents a contrast. So a contrast between a positive verb and a negative verb. Nomimasu and nomimasen. I drink and I don't drink. So the first clause is wine wa nomimasu. I drink wine. But the second clause is beer wa nomimasen. Example number 16. Kino wa yama ga miemashita ga kyou wa miemasen. So a positive verb and a negative verb. This time it's a potential verb and a negative potential verb. So the first clause is kino, yesterday. And for the second clause, the subject is kyo, today. So a contrast between yesterday and today. Kino and kyo. So yesterday, yama ga miemashita. The mountains were visible yesterday. But today, miemasen. Kyo wa miemasen. It's not visible today. Okay, a contrast. Yesterday was visible, but today is not visible. So another example. For example, you will say, I can write hiragana, but I cannot write kanji. So you will say, hiragana wa kakemasu ga kanji wa kakemasen. So a contrast between hiragana and kanji. Hiragana wa kakemasu ga. I can write hiragana ga, but kanji wa kakemasen. I cannot write kanji. Grammar point number 7. Wa is used to highlight a word with another particle already attached. So you can also add the particle wa to highlight a word with a particle. So for example number 7, nihonde. Okay, nihonde, it means that the place of action is Nihon, Japan. In Japan. So you add the particle wa to make the nihonde as the main focus of the sentence. In Japan, uma o miru koto ga dekimasen. So uma o miru koto ga dekimasen. So if you remember the koto ga dekimasu, as we learned in our previous lessons, this is also a form of a potential verb. So you can do verb. Miru koto ga dekimasen. I can't or you can't see many horses in Japan. Nihonde, in Japan. But in other countries, you can see many horses. But in Japan, nihonde wa. Okay, so example number 18. Tenki no ii hi ni wa umi ga miirun desu. Okay, so tenki no ii hi. Tenki no ii hi. On a fine day. So it's a time. Tenki no ii hi. On a fine day. Particle ni because the tenki no ii hi is used as time. Now to focus on this time, we will attach the particle wa. On a fine day, umi ga miirun desu. the sea can be seen, or you can see the sea on a fine day. So, example number 19. ここからは東京スカイツリーが見えません。ここからは東京スカイツリーが見えません。So, ここから means from here. Tokyo Sky Tree ga miemasen. The Tokyo Sky Tree is not visible from here, or you can't see the Tokyo Sky Tree from here. Koko kara wa. So to focus on the word koko kara from here. Because on other places or in another spot, you can see the Tokyo Sky Tree. But koko kara from here, you cannot see the Tokyo Sky Tree. So to focus on koko kara from here. That's all for today's lesson, guys. Make sure to visit manabutextbook.com so you can access our example sentences and exercises for today's lesson. We also included lecture videos to make it easier for you to understand the contents of our online textbook. 皆さん、今日のレッスンはいかがでしたか? I hope you learned a lot in today's lesson. If you have questions, you can leave a comment below, and also you can follow me on my Instagram account. Please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our future lessons. Dewa, mata ne. Bye-bye.